The city of Little Rock, Arkansas was gripped by fear in 2021, stemming from a series of brutal attacks. The Little Rock Police Department, LRPD, faced a chilling case involving a suspected serial killer who targeted vulnerable individuals. The first incident that sparked alarm occurred on April 11, 2021. Police were dispatched to South Pulaski Street following a frantic call reporting a potential homicide. Arriving at the scene, officers discovered a middle-aged woman, Deborah Walker, lying on the ground, grievously wounded. Walker, who was homeless and living on the streets, had sustained multiple stab wounds. Despite the severity of her injuries and the time that had elapsed before her discovery, Walker remarkably clung to life. She was rushed to a nearby hospital where medical personnel determined she had been stabbed at least 15 times. She regained consciousness the same day, a testament to her resilience. LRPD investigators interviewed Walker at the hospital, hoping she could provide crucial details about her assailant. Walker's account, however, was limited by the circumstances of the attack. It had occurred in the early morning hours, between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., when it was still dark. She could only describe her attacker as a tall, slender African-American male. In many cases, such scant information would offer little to advance a police investigation. However, in this instance, Walker's description sent a jolt through the investigators. The details she provided bore a striking resemblance to the description of a suspect in a previous, unsolved homicide that had taken place approximately 8 months prior in the same general vicinity. The earlier incident involved the death of Larry Eugene McChristian, a 64-year-old man who resided in Little Rock with his daughter Sarah, who was on probation. On August 20th, 2020, McChristian experienced a medical emergency and was transported to a local hospital by ambulance. He was discharged the following morning. Hospital staff attempted to contact Sarah so she could arrange for her father's transportation home. However, their calls went unanswered. Consequently, the hospital provided McChristian with information about a nearby homeless shelter, along with a bus token to reach the facility. Later that day, Sarah arrived at the hospital to pick up her father, only to learn that he had already been discharged. Frantic, she contacted the homeless shelter, but they had no record of McChristian's arrival. Left with no other options, Sarah filed a missing persons report with the Little Rock Police Department. 2 days later, on August 24th, Sarah received the devastating news she had been dreading. The LRPD had located her father, but he was dead. According to the official police report, Larry McChristian's body was discovered on South Gain Street at approximately 2 a.m. He was identified by hospital discharge papers found on his person. The cause of death was determined to be multiple stab wounds. McChristian was pronounced dead at the scene. The LRPD immediately launched a homicide investigation. Initially, the investigation faced significant obstacles. There were no eyewitnesses to the crime, and the immediate crime scene yielded little in the way of physical evidence. However, investigators canvassing the neighborhood made a crucial discovery. A nearby residence had a CCTV camera that had captured relevant footage. The CCTV footage revealed a man walking down the street. The man then appeared to spot McChristian and changed direction, walking directly toward him. The footage captured the attack itself. After the attack, the man began to leave the scene, but then in a disturbing turn of events, stopped, turned back, and stabbed McChristian one last time before finally fleeing the area. As previously mentioned, the physical description of this man, captured on the CCTV footage, closely matched the description provided by Deborah Walker to the police following her attack. This led investigators to believe that Walker and McChristian had been attacked by the same individual. The LRPD's investigation expanded to include a review of older, unsolved cases. This review uncovered a potential link to another homicide that had occurred in the same area on September 23, 2020. The victim in this case was Jeff Welch, a 62-year-old homeless man who had been living in an abandoned house. On the morning of September 23rd, a friend of Welch's found him on the porch of the abandoned house. Welch had sustained a fatal stab wound to the neck. By this point, investigators had concluded that they were dealing with a serial killer. The similarities between the three attacks, the method of killing, the locations, and the victims were too significant to be coincidental. However, the investigation took another grim turn. On April 12, 2021, just one day after the attack on Deborah Walker, another victim was discovered. This victim was found on the Wright Avenue overpass. The 4 attacks shared several disturbing commonalities. All of the victims were homeless individuals, and all of the attacks occurred during the same late-night, early-morning time frame, between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. However, there appeared to be no other discernible pattern connecting the victims. The killer's selection of targets seemed random, adding to the fear and uncertainty gripping the Little Rock community. Residents were terrified to leave their homes, fearing they could become the next victim of the elusive serial killer. Recognizing the escalating danger and the widespread fear, the LRPD took steps to inform the public and solicit assistance. They released information about the suspect, who was now being referred to as the Little Rock Slasher, and urged residents to be vigilant. The police also appealed to the public for any information related to the case, offering a reward of $20,000 for tips leading to the arrest and conviction of the perpetrator. "We need your help," the police stated in their public appeal. "If you have seen anything suspicious, or if you have surveillance cameras on your homes or businesses in the area, please contact us." The number provided was 5013. Despite having CCTV footage of the suspect, the Little Rock Slasher was never apprehended. The case officially remains unsolved, a source of frustration and anxiety for the community. However, the official narrative may not be the whole story. While researching this case, an Arkansas-based blog called the Snarky Media Report published findings from their own investigation into the Little Rock Slasher case. The information they presented was, to say the least, startling. The Snarky Media Report claimed to have uncovered the true identity of the killer. They asserted that they had gathered this information through interviews with local residents, including Deborah Walker, who, according to the blog, already knew the identity of her attacker. The blog also detailed other aspects of the alleged killer's background, including his criminal record. According to the Snarky Media Report, the alleged killer had a history of violence and instability. Their investigation revealed that he had served 2 prior prison terms in Arkansas for felony convictions related to domestic violence. Furthermore, the blog claimed he had a history of drug abuse, which they said contributed to his agitated and violent behavior. The authors of the blog also stated that they had obtained an image of the alleged perpetrator from his former landlord. This revelation raised a critical question. If the Snarky Media Report had obtained so much detailed information about the slasher, including his legal name and a photograph, why hadn't they provided this information to the police? The blog's explanation added another layer of intrigue, and some might say suspicion, to the case. The Snarky Media Report claimed that they had, in fact, provided all of their findings to the relevant authorities. However, they alleged that the Little Rock Police Department had made no progress in apprehending the serial killer, despite receiving this information. Adding to the mystery, the Snarky Media Report published a video purportedly showing the Little Rock mayor and the police chief refusing to answer questions about the case. The blog interpreted this silence as evidence of a potential cover-up or some other form of malfeasance within the city's law enforcement agencies. It is important to note that the claims made by the Snarky Media Report remain unverified. There is no independent confirmation of their findings, and it is possible that their entire investigation is fabricated. The information could be a hoax, designed to discredit the Little Rock Police Department or to generate attention for the blog itself. Most of the information released by the authorities aligned with the details uncovered by the Snarky Media Report. The only significant discrepancy between the official investigation and the blog's findings was the age of the suspect. Law enforcement officials believed the slasher to be a young man, possibly in his 20s. In contrast, the Snarky Media Report identified the alleged killer as being 46 years old. Unfortunately, this is where the trail of leads ends. The veracity of the Snarky Media Report's claims remains uncertain. What is certain, however, is that the case of the Little Rock Slasher remains unsolved. The killer is, as of this writing, still at large, and the potential for further violence remains a chilling reality for the residents of Little Rock.